Welcome to People Who Perform, the Real Estate Careers podcast. Each episode will bring you conversations from business leaders and up-and-coming stars in the commercial real estate industry in Canada. Our guests will share their unique career journeys, passions, and advice on what it takes to be successful in this industry. This podcast is brought to you by Highview Partners, connecting people who perform in Canadian real estate.
I'm your host, Nicola Denning-Millar, and today I'm pleased to introduce Carrie Ashfield, who's had a very successful career in commercial property management spanning over 20 years. Carrie's career started in 1998, and over the years, she's worked for a number of reputable landlords, including Brookfield, Oxford, and Choice Properties REIT. In 2004, she obtained her RPA designation, which has helped set her up for success in managing GTA-based and national office and retail portfolios. This included 1.5 million square feet of Class A financial district properties. Her areas of expertise include accounting and budgeting, plant and site operations, human resources, administration, tenant services, security and life safety, and capital project management. She has successfully led teams of up to 50 people, many of whom have appreciated her mentorship and have gone on to receive several promotions. Some of her career highlights include CRA response planning for the 2008 G8 Summit and receiving BOMA Building of the Year awards. She is also the recipient of multiple BOMA Best and LEED Platinum and Gold certifications. But we'll hear more about that and her other experiences throughout this episode. So first of all, Carrie, thank you so much for joining me on what has actually been quite a bright and sunny spring day in Toronto. How are you doing today?
Great, thanks. Thanks for the invitation.
Oh, no problem. It's Friday afternoon and nearly wine o'clock for lots of us. So this is actually a really great way to end my week. So thank you so much for joining me. I have to say, I've been really looking forward to speaking with you today because after having carved a really successful career in real estate, you made a career-defining decision last year to actually exit the industry and set up on your own. Very brave.
Thank you.
But this actually got me thinking about, the fundamental skills that you've gained throughout your real estate career that have obviously now given you confidence to transition into something new, and what other options people other than you might have. So first of all, I thought what we would do is sort of delve into a little bit more about your career path. So how were you actually introduced to real estate as a career?
I fell into it actually as a temporary job. I was bopping around after my university stays. I had 2 degrees and I was looking for something that I could sink my teeth into. I had decided I wasn't going to be in the movie industry, which was where I was prior. And I took a job with a placement agency as an administrator, and they put me at Trizicon, which was Peter Monk's first foray into real estate in Canada. And it was from there that I started my 21-year career.
It's interesting, actually. When I was at school, a lot of the conversations with career counsellors are often focused on, like more traditional careers, doctors, police officers, teachers, journalists. And there's a whole world of careers that just on people's radars.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. And I had no idea that this kind of work existed. I had the basic skills to get in the door. I had done summer jobs where I was, the administrator or the Girl Friday at an advertising agency or wherever. But when it came to real estate, I thought there was only, a property manager of a apartment building or a real estate agent. I didn't know that there was this whole other world of commercial real estate.
Yeah. I know from speaking with a lot of industry leaders over the years, that the question of, how do we get youngsters interested in a career in real estate? How do we communicate sort of just how rewarding it can be and how many different career paths you can take, depending obviously on your skill set and your interest. But there really is something for everybody, isn't it?
There really is. There's so much variety, and you can be a jack of all trades, and maybe you can be a master of some if you want to focus, say on leasing per se, or accounting, or even operations. But if you went the route that I took, which was in management, you have to be a little bit of everything, which means that for someone who likes a lot of variety and one day never looks like the next, it's a great career.
I remember when I started recruiting actually for Canadian real estate, I was quite astounded by the variety of skills that a property manager needs to have, because it's not just, dealing with the tenants and the customer service side. It's, accounting and budgeting and operations. There's the customer service and the human resources element, being a leader. And then you've got so many other so many other areas that feed into it, janitorial, security and life safety, HVAC, elevators. I mean, like you say, you really do have to be a jack of all trades.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's hard skills and soft skills, which was something that I didn't learn in school as much. I mean, I went to university originally for business, and I was learning all the hard skills about finance and accounting and even HR and employment law and that kind of thing. But they didn't tell you about sort of, and I hate to quote Trump, but the art of the deal is all about people management and how to get people to jump on board with your ideas and your projects. And leadership is such an amazing skill to be able to grow. And that's something you can't necessarily learn at school, but on the job in something like commercial real estate, it's essential.
And you're really having to sort of think on your feet and learn those skills as you go as well, because unless you've been in those situations, it's often a first time, isn't it, that you're dealing with things.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's a huge culture of mentorship I found within commercial real estate and retail real estate, that everybody wants you to get better at it as you go along. And so they see the new people who come into the industry, and you're very much given opportunity and chances to learn and make mistakes, because nobody gets through it all without making a couple here and there.
No, of course not. So, when you sort of look at your career in real estate, what parts of the industry did you enjoy the most?
I think I enjoyed the people the most. I loved working every day with a team. And I loved the fact that I could talk to the CEO one minute of a bank or a legal firm, and then the next minute I'm talking to the janitorial staff, and I'm attending their their team dinner that night because they've been working hard on extra cleaning. It's all about how you interact with people and problem solving. At the end of the day, you need people to get things done. You need their skill sets. You need their enthusiasm. And you also need hard skills too. I mean, the other part of that equation for me was I loved accounting, and I'm good with numbers. So I could bang out a budget, or I could, manage something so that it didn't quite cost what I thought it was going to cost at the end of the day. And that was fun. Those were fun wins.
How do you see women advancing and excelling in the industry from when you started out in 1998 compared to now?
When I started at Trizicon, I was really lucky in that our regional manager was Cheryl Gray, who is someone the real estate industry in Toronto, anyway, would know very well. She became, or I think she is currently, the president of IREM, sort of the North American somewhat equivalent, including residential of the BOMA. So she was a great person to look up to. She was in my office. And then I also had another great female leader, Kristen Eade, who has gone on to have amazing success herself. She's SVP and CEO of her own real estate firm. So from an early stage in my career, I saw women excelling, being leaders. And I think that over the course of my career, I noticed that women were just seemingly uniquely qualified for property management, my area of the industry. We just are great problem solvers, and we rally people together. We very much create a family, if you could use that sort of analogy, with your team. You support everybody. You know that everybody is uniquely qualified and talented, and you need what they bring to the table. And also, we're just great at organizing, whether it be projects or different events that we would have going on in the property. And it just seemed like a natural fit in many cases. I think I met more female property managers at the end of the day, and now I see them going on into more senior roles. So that's really exciting.
Do you see like more women now going into senior roles than you maybe did sort of earlier on in your career?
I think you have to fight your way up, and someone like Michelle Brown at Bentall has done a great job. She started at the same time as I did with Trizicon, and now she is I'm not mistaken, I know she's VP if she's not SVP now. So, there are just been highlights of people, like not everybody is cut out for the senior executive positions, but I think the opportunity is definitely there if you have that ambition.
Yeah. And I think, the introduction of associations like, the CREW network, they're specifically dedicated to empowering and supporting women throughout their careers. That's probably had a very positive impact as well, because they offer mentorship programs and educational events, and really just an opportunity to network and learn from recognized industry leaders.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I spent 10 years with CREW and was, took advantage of all their leadership courses, led their communications team, and was part of the board for 2 years, I guess about 3 years ago now. So yeah, you are exposed to women at the highest level. And, someone like Anna Kennedy from Kingset, she was president of Toronto CREW not long ago. What an amazing woman. And you find that, or I found that the higher up someone gets in an organization, just the more humble and more, down to earth they are. They really understand what it takes to, to have a career and do your very best work, and then have a life as well.
Well, I think as well, at that point of your career, you've got nothing to prove. There's often no ego at that point. And there's a real sort of willingness to help other women build their confidence and really believe in themselves. And I think that's, one of the reasons why we are seeing more women in leadership roles. I mean, not enough, if you ask me.
There could always be more.
Yeah, absolutely. There can always be more. But, with more firms addressing, gender diversity in the workplace, I mean, we certainly stand a better chance of leveling the playing field, don't we?
Yeah, I think so. The unique thing about our industry is that there seems to be two sort of streams, how people sort of arrive in the industry and where they come up from. And that is either the operations stream. So you start as a building operator, you're very technical, hands-on, mechanical kind of understanding. And then you rise management-wise because you have people skills, you have, dollar and cents value. And then there's the other side, which is sort of the administrative tenant services side that a lot of the women get sort of introduced to the industry that way. That's how I came in. And then you build on your leadership skills and your management, and you come that way. So, it depends on, and also on what kinds of opportunities you get exposed to. And really a huge part of that is, and maybe I'm, going off on a tangent, but is the company that you're with. The better and bigger the company, the more opportunities that you'll be given.
Are you looking for a trusted recruiter who lives and breathes Canadian real estate? At Highview, we bring over 20 years of recruiting experience to help steer you in the right direction. We are passionate about your success in this industry, so we will arm you with the important information and give you the tools to make the best choice. Contact Highview Partners today to discover how we can connect you to people who perform.
You spoke earlier on about mentorship and how there's been some quite significant women that you've worked with and for. How important do you feel it was, to have a mentor in your life?
It was huge. It was probably the most important part of my success, I think, from an early stage. My mentors actually happened to be men, for no other reason than they were my direct bosses. My first mentor was at TCREW, and it was just a personality connection that we had. And from there, he's always been available to me to, even when I haven't worked for him directly for maybe 17 years, he's always available to talk and work through problems. And we just literally care about each other. And my second mentor, and the longest mentorship I had, was with my boss at Brookfield, Brian West, who really from the time I stepped in the door until I left, and I was there 15 years, he was my direct boss with a few years of sort of, pushing me around a little bit and experiencing different people. You mean I have to work for someone else? Which were good experiences, but, I was always happy to go back to Brian. And that was, that was a relationship that, as I was writing notes for our conversation today, it meant so much from a learning perspective, but also what it gave me was that support behind the scenes when there were promotions to be had, or when there were projects that he knew I would be good to be a part of the team. Like, he would push me and promote me, and I would get opportunities as a result of that. And you just can't quantify how valuable that is.
Absolutely. And I think, being mentored has proven to boost careers and, help people maximize their potential. And I think, some of the most successful people in the world have had mentors. I mean, I've read, people like Oprah and Bill Gates and Mark Zuckerberg. I mean, they've all voiced the importance of, taking guidance and advice from others. And I think, like you just said, it's not just about sharing, their wisdom and knowledge, but it's having a cheerleader from within, someone that's going to praise you for doing a good job when you've done a good job, but that's also going to offer constructive criticism. So I think for everyone that's listening, if you don't have a mentor, perhaps now is a great time to seek one out, because there clearly are huge advantages.
And you mentioned TCREW has a mentorship program, which I was a part of for a couple of years, where I mentored junior women in the industry, who I also have, longstanding relationships now with. And they, that's a free program, part of your membership, sign up. It's so worthwhile. If you can do it, and if you can give to it too. If you're someone who's been in the industry a while, you get back as much as you put in.
Well, also, not everybody at work has that internal resource. So it's nice in those situations that you have a group outside that can, offer you advice and guidance and, help you overcome challenges, but in a safe environment as well.
Yeah. And it's funny, you were mentioning, I have a cheerleader. But, the thing I found, and maybe it was just the personality between myself and my mentor, but he was always the first one to take me aside and say, hey, by the way, maybe we should rethink how we're approaching this, shouldn't we? and that was invaluable, because in property management, at least, you can be, you're running your own island, whether it happens to be an office tower or a mall or wherever it happens to be, and you can be out there doing your thing. But it's easy to lose perspective. And when someone else comes along with lots of experience and says, hey, by the way, this is what you said, but this is how it was perceived. You need that.
So just sort of switching gears slightly, you decided to leave the commercial real estate industry last year. You were pretty much at the top of your game. And I'm just interested to know what prompted that decision?
So I had been promoted in the last year, and it was very exciting, and it was a national opportunity and travel and whatnot. And I just realized what I had been realizing over the previous couple of years, that as I got higher and higher in the industry, the work didn't get more and more interesting. And so, I would not sneeze at the paycheck any day. It's a great thing. But at the end of the day, I realized that I put 20 years into this career. I had another 15 years minimum, I guess, in my mind, of what I had left to do. And I'd always loved writing. I always thought it was something I should pursue and had a talent for. So a lot of other things were changing in my life at that time. And I decided when the role sort of reached its natural end, that I would take that opportunity to transition to something else, to being a writer, to being an entrepreneur, to being in charge of, my life from my, from my perspective every single day. And I'm responsible for my success.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, congratulations on finding that courage, because it does take a lot of strength, doesn't it, to sort of make the leap. And I know that they say, the magic happens when you're outside of your comfort zone, but it's certainly not an easy thing to do.
I don't know if it's magic at 2 a.m. in the morning when you're like, so need another client.
But it is at 4 o'clock on a Friday afternoon when you decide that you can leave and go and open a bottle of wine.
That's right. Or today is the day I start work at 11. I may work till 10, but that's okay.
So thinking about, the skills that you acquired, what skills have translated easily from real estate sort of into this new profession?
I think that, communications right off the bat. I always loved writing a good email, but the ability to have the confidence you mentioned earlier to pitch myself and walk into situations with, maybe I don't know everything there is to know about here, but I have the right attitude, which is I can get it done, whatever you need, which is what you need in any kind of service industry. I will solve your problem. I have the skills. So that I think translates great to any kind of entrepreneurial role. And then it's people skills. It's, how can you get the most out of A, yourself, and B, your relationships?
Absolutely. And then there's the operational side as well, isn't there, of having your own business? It's dealing with the lawyers and the accounting and IT and web design and all of those other skills as well.
Oh, yes. I'm technically challenged. So thank goodness I have two teenage boys who love to laugh at me, but who are infinitely more skilled than I am.
Well, to be honest, I have 8-year-old twin boys and they also know more than I do. So I think you're doing okay.
Thanks, man.
What would you say are some of the successful transitions that you've witnessed when people decide to leave real estate?
I think people who take what they're known for in this industry and create a consulting position for themselves. I think of Moishi Wertham when we took over Brookfield. We at the time took over O&Y. He started his own consulting business, and I've seen other people do that too, like Wayne Prue and a few others. It's a very natural transition to a real estate agent situation for residential. It's super easy. I'm actually in the process of, maybe I shouldn't say that, sorry, real estate agents out there. I'm in the process of selling my own home. And
well, you're going to get a lot of calls now, Carrie.
Oh yes, it's all the tire kicker real estate agents wanting to me to represent. But yeah, I mean, you learn negotiation skills in this job. So not being intimidated by someone who says, I'm not going to pay you X, and you say, well, actually, I need X plus 10, and I also need Y, and it's realizing, the dynamic. It's not personal at the end of the day, and that's critical for a business role.
No, absolutely. So I'm going to switch gears a little bit now, because I think some of our listeners would like to get to know you a little bit more. So can I just ask you then, so who was your role model growing up?
I would say my dad. My dad was a Spitfire pilot in World War II. He was quite a bit older. He was 50 when I was born. And he came back from the war, and he was very poor. But the great thing about that, when you came back to Canada after fighting, was you got a free education. So he had the ability to go and get his geological engineering degree and then his MBA. And he worked at the Toronto Transit Commission building the subways for the next 42 years. And he was second in charge when he left at the end of those 42 years. He was general manager of construction. And I was so proud of him. And so he was such a lovely person. We always had family friends over to the house, and everybody would take me aside and tell me how great they thought my dad was, how lovely, how smart, how generous, how funny. And it wasn't that other people told me this about him, but I knew that he had the respect of other people. And that made an impression on me. And the thing he always told me was, just put your head down and go. Just whatever gets in your way, you can work your way out of it.
Sounds like a great guy.
He was, thanks.
When work and life gets out of balance, which invariably it does for everybody, what steps do you take to keep your body and mind in good working order?
I would say that my body has taken a little bit more attention lately than it used to. I used to be able to just eat what I wanted and do not much, but you hit the 40s and it slaps you in the face. So now I go to the gym, and not anymore because we're all social distancing, sadly, but I take dance class and I do yoga. And I love that time when I'm actually focusing on my own health and pushing myself, and also getting out of my head. I'm not worrying about, whatever it happens to be, the next project or the next call or the next piece that I'm writing. Those things are great. And then from a mind perspective, I can lose myself in a story any day of the week, be it a book or a series or a movie. I love experiencing other people's lives vicariously.
Absolutely, me too. So when COVID-19 is contained and life resumes as normal, hopefully sometime soon, what's the first thing that you're going to do that you can't do now, other than go to the gym?
Yeah, exactly. I am going to get my girlfriends together, and we're going to go meet at our favorite watering hole, which is sort of the midpoint between all of our homes, which, is 20 or 30 minutes away because we're all quite dispersed over the GTA. And we're going to order wine, and we're going to eat, and we're going to talk, and we're going to be less than 6 feet away from each other at all times.
That's so nice. So obviously everyone's going to be getting an Uber that night.
Yes, good point.
So I'm just going to finish by asking you a couple more questions, Carrie, because we want to leave our listeners with a few takeaways here. So what pieces of advice would you give to somebody starting out in the real estate industry?
I would say don't worry about your first job in the industry. Don't worry about what the title is. As long as it's something you think you can do and you be, mostly interested in, don't turn it down because it's not the corner office. And I say that with all humility. I started as an administrative assistant. I had 2 university degrees. I thought I might be able to do a bit better than receptionist, but I couldn't. And I needed to get in on the ground floor. And it doesn't take long if you're eager and smart and you're going to put the work in. It took me 18 months to get promoted to manager. It should take you probably no longer. And just go in there and soak it all up.
Great advice. And for someone who's looking to raise their game inside the industry, what would be your advice there?
I would say don't give up. So you want to you want something more out of your job. And so if you're not getting noticed or there aren't opportunities within your company, one of two things can be done. You can ask for those opportunities. You have to put your hand up. Nobody's going to read your mind. Talk to the people above you. Offer your assistance. Don't think of it as, I want this quid pro quo and you give me that. Just say, I'll help you with this project. I have an idea. We come from a world where everybody sort of wants to get paid for every minute, but the people who do the best, especially when you're starting out and when you're sort of trying to reach that next level, is the people who give before they take. So, join an association, grab a mentor, have a leadership role somewhere else that can show what you're capable of. If you can't do it within your company, show how you can do it outside of it.
I think that's a really valid point, Carrie. It's being proactive, isn't it? And being an active participant in your own learning and development and pushing yourself out there.
That's right. Yeah. And you know what? It may not be within that company. That may not be your endpoint. I was very lucky to spend 15 years with a company, but it's not typical anymore. So you have to find your people as well. And when you do, you will be recognized.
Yeah. Well, thank you again, Carrie, for sharing your experiences and for inspiring others who might be looking for a change. But I really, really appreciate your time and have a wonderful weekend.
Thanks, Nicola. It was great.
Thank you for listening to People Who Perform, the Real Estate Careers podcast brought to you by Highview Partners, a talent search and recruitment firm focused exclusively on Canadian real estate. If your real estate team is looking to find the best next hire, or if you're ready to make the best next move in your career, then reach out to Highview Partners today. Follow us on LinkedIn and visit us at highviewpartners.ca.